So here we are downstairs where we worked on the leather, working to get the leather to fit, first of all, onto our part, onto our aluminum corner, and seeing if it'll bend the way it wanted to. So before we even got started, I had done this little test here, which I actually didn't even calculate the time for that, getting the basic concept of what the rail would look like. And the big challenge was, will our leather of the thickness that we need, and it is a very specific type of leather that we have to use, that is a formable leather, thick enough that it's going to last for years with the pawls constantly pounding on them. And so will it bend over, and with these radiuses was the real concern. Would we be able to get it to form? And so basically I was able to see, it had never been done before, to see that yes, it will form this way. So once I knew that, then it was a matter of going up to the drawing and getting the dimensions and all of that designed, created and designed. And so then once we got the part, I was able then to start fitting it to the actual part and getting it to form. In order to do that, we had to have some templates of various styles to even test it. And even this template, I wanted these big heavy clamps. These cost I think over $100. That would help hold the press, which I think we started with this. That when it goes in, we'd be able to press it down and clamp it back and forth. Long story short, we bought over $100 worth of clamps, and they didn't work. We had one idea, and this has actually been built on the lower one, where we had thought we'd get our leather to form in here, and that would help form our corners. It didn't work. Actually made matters worse. So then I had to build on top of that and have something also that was a little smoother. Regular plywood, when we press it in, it would actually very, very lightly embed the character of the wood, which really doesn't fit the contemporary look. One thing I would like to say too is that similar pockets, the ones that we have where we put in nails and screws, there's a lot more forgiveness there because it's just a flat on top. You can push the leather up tight against the radius and it fits well. So when I would form those, when I first did those, I'd form, and I could do it in about 2 or 3 tests and get my templates. And so every time we're doing a test, leather's stretching. We have to redraw, recut, and remeasure these templates. And there's probably a few more that ended up in the fire, to make sure that we have enough leather and that it's bending and fitting the proper way. And so like I said, that in the past we've been able to do about 3. I'll just show you here. For this pocket we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then our finals 9 and 10, because we have our corner inside. Once I had the corner done, the side only took a couple tries, like usual. And I'll explain a little bit what happened each time here. Little things like, do we need a cut? And is the cut going to be, it started off too with the thickness. How thick do we want that top? Anyway, do we need to cut it? So getting the screws in the back. That was the first attempt with screws. How is the leather going to hold? Can I use the screws as part of my forming, which proved to be the case. Then we tried to start getting our front to bend down. How do I cut this leather out so that the bend is there and it's the same each time, which is a challenge. So there were some attempts trying to get that to happen. Where do we cut? How do we cut? When do we cut? Here it seemed that we needed to get a fastening in the bottom at the side. So that's down over here. That was helping to form and shape the leather and hold it in place. So then we had to drill new holes in here, which we then had to go back to the CAD drawing and draw those in and make sure that the machinist would then be able to do them. These ones here I did by hand. No sense in sending it back to a machinist to do that. Just put it in the drill press out here. But then even that wasn't quite working right. When we put it in the form, it would actually tear a little bit on the leather. So instead of having a nice smooth finished leather look, it's a tear, which obviously is not going to be any good. Here was still a little bit of that tear happening in that, which just did not work properly. So then it seemed that if I put a hole in the front, below, we got to keep in mind measure so that when this goes into our wood, how is that? Is that hole going to be below our wood so that you can't see that screw? And do we have enough material here to do that? And we got lucky there that there actually was enough material, and that was just pure luck. That there was enough material there to put a screw in so that that holds there. And so then in doing that, that got us to get this nice tight form here. And so that got the leather fitting, the aluminum exactly the way we want it. Again, we had to do this press each time. We're trying things. The pressure that we're putting on the leather, some of them would break, so I have to make this. That doesn't work, so I keep changing, improving that process to get the leather to form. So we got the leather forming, but we're still not done. we still have a stage to do. So we had one part where, this is just to fit the leather and see how it's going to fit into our rail. I don't want to be cutting into a $1,000 piece of wood with, and then find out that, it doesn't look the way it should. So this jig here had to be made so that when this fits in, and again, we're wanting a nice tight fit, and so how do we get that to fit in there properly so that everything's nice and tight? So I have to make a jig to do this cut, and our corners started off that they were square. It turns out that number one was very hard to do, to get it to be a nice clean cut. Turns out we were able to give that a slight radius and still keep a nice contemporary look on the pocket. But we had to do this template. I got that. I actually had in the process made an entire corner rail inside. I had thought we had it down well enough that we'd be good to go to this stage where this would be a final sample. But that was while we still had the corners, straight corners, and although it worked well, that wasn't good enough. And at the same time, on the back, we now have to make a new jig for this, which is another jig, and that doesn't work the first time either. So I think we probably ended up doing a couple jigs for that. So, and then again, we've got the side pocket, so there's jigs for the corners, jigs for the sides. There's making not just one jig, but 2 and 3. This is a process of samples. This one here was sort of the first. We thought that was good. We went to that one. It didn't fit, so then it's let's try a rounded corner. So this was just a little quicker, easier template, or testing. That's actually a testing block. And then once we figured we had it, then I went again to a solid full fit. And each time, I don't have those jigs here. Actually, yeah, there's another one that we had to do. So 3, 4, 5, 6 times trying that, changing these jigs each time, all refining the fit in here. And there might be a 32nd of an inch or a 16th of an inch where it's not fitting in the pocket properly. So the jig has to be adjusted and refit so that when it's all machined, and this is a hand machine, this isn't a computerized machine, that's prohibitive to do that with these parts. Nobody would do that for me, and I don't have that kind of machinery. So this is all handwork with templates, old style templates that we're cutting this so that each one is fitting exactly the same. And so it did take a lot more jigs than I've ever had to use, a lot more drawing and redesigning than I've ever had to do. But I do believe that we have created a very unique pocket. Yes, very custom, very contemporary fit, and I still have to cut the finished rails, but I'm confident now that everything is going to be machined and fit properly, and they're going to look great. So hopefully you can appreciate, yes, I do apologize, it took a lot more work than I had originally thought, but we did it, and you'll see what it looks like when it's done. Anyway, thanks.